Hey guys, tonight we travel to a place that most people don't believe is real, but I assure you, it exists. Somewhere between the forgotten folds of Midwest Americana and a bureaucracy that got way too much sleep lies a sleepy little county called Slumberton. And here, nestled between the beige municipal buildings and suspiciously quiet diners, is a law so strange, so specific, so thoroughly starched, it may just wrinkle your brain. In Slumberton, it's illegal to wear pajamas in public. Yes, pajamas. Like the things you wear to sleep. Flannel pants, fuzzy robes, cartoon printed onesies. If you wear them anywhere outside your home, on the street, at the grocery store, waiting for the mail, you're considered a violator of County Ordinance 47B. No sleepwear beyond the threshold. You probably won't survive this if you're the type of person who wears pajama pants to the gas station or finds yourself on the front porch at 10 p.m. with a cocoa mug and an oversized hoodie you call emotional armor. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You arrive in Slumberton on what should be a quiet evening. The town is small, tidy, and oddly symmetrical, like it was built entirely from one of those municipal planning kits nobody uses anymore. Everything's beige, even the flowers. There's a bus stop at the edge of town, and the first thing you notice, besides the total absence of noise, is the wooden sign next to the bench. Carved in decorative cursive, it reads, "Welcome to Slumberton, where sleepwear stays indoors." You assume it's a joke. It's not. You're wearing your comfiest pajama bottoms, the ones with the little moons and smiling sheep. They're soft, nostalgic, harmless. Or so you thought. A woman nearby stares at you like you just dropped a lit match into a haystack. She clutches her handbag and crosses the street. A man watering his begonias does a full double take and mutters something into a walkie-talkie clipped to his waistband. You wave awkwardly. They do not wave back. You begin walking toward what looks like the town center. The streets are quiet, eerily so. A coffee shop hums with low light but no music. The local grocery store window displays a pyramid of chamomile tea and nothing with caffeine, and then you hear it. A soft chime, 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 followed by the squeak of oiled wheels. You turn. Down the street glides what looks like an old golf cart, but it's been modified. It's covered in navy blue felt, trimmed with embroidered stars, and has a rotating red light on top that pulses like a metronome at half speed. Inside are three individuals, all dressed in long, high-collared robes that resemble academic regalia, but cozier. They pull up beside you. The driver, a square-jawed man with steel-rimmed glasses, addresses you through a gold-trimmed speaking funnel. "Sir or madam, this is a certified sleepwear-free zone. You are currently in violation of County Code 47B, subsection 4. You blink. "I'm just walking?" He points at your pants. "Patterned flannel, drawstring waist, non-structured. That's textbook category 2, domestic restwear." You laugh. Mistake number 1. The woman in the back seat, who's knitting something with judicial aggression, gives you a long look and says, "Do you wish to contest this violation in court? Or may we escort you to the intake cabin for orientation?" You sputter something that sounds like, "This has to be a prank." She doesn't laugh. Refusal to comply within 10 seconds results in automatic recommendation to the sleepwear committee. Your brain says run, your legs say stay, your heart says, how is this real? You nod. The man behind the wheel gestures for you to sit in the back. The seat is oddly plush, like it's been upholstered with anxiety. You pass a sign as you ride through town. Wide awake is the dress code. They take you to a small building near what looks like a repurposed post office. It's painted beige, like everything else. A single fluorescent light buzzes softly above the entrance. Inside, the air smells like lavender and disappointment. You're handed a clipboard. It reads, "First time infraction. Pajama wearing in public. Check 1. I will comply and change clothes. I wish to attend the Sleepwear Review Tribunal. I respectfully disagree, but accept the fine. I have no idea what's happening and need a snack." You check the 4th box. The receptionist frowns. Non-standard answer. You'll need to speak with Mr. Drowse. She presses a button. A door opens. And in walks a man who looks like he was carved from mahogany and sadness. He wears a taupe cardigan buttoned all the way up and a badge that reads, "Head of Nighttime Decorum." He looks at your pants, then he looks at you. Then he says, "So, you've arrived." Like he was expecting you. You ask him what the big deal is. Pajamas aren't dangerous. Pajamas are relaxing. He nods. Exactly. And that, he explains, is the problem. Relaxation spreads. Relaxation undermines vigilance. And in Slumberton, vigilance is the bedrock of safety. You're escorted out with a formal warning and a pamphlet titled, "Wakefulness as a Civic Duty." You look around at the quiet streets and wonder how deep this law actually goes. You walk slowly back toward the bus stop, pamphlet in hand, and an uncomfortable awareness that every window you pass might contain someone watching, not peeking, observing, the kind of passive surveillance only small towns and deeply outdated bylaws can sustain. The sky above Slumberton is dimming into a pale purplish gray. There are no stars, just a quiet, heavy blanket of cloud. The town lights flicker on with a faint hum, warm, orderly, slightly too yellow. That's when you notice the second sign. It's perched on a post beside the stop, smaller than the welcome sign but far more specific. Carved in a sort of faux Gothic typeface, it reads, "Pajamas are not outerwear. Sleepwear may not be worn beyond the resident's threshold. This includes porches, driveways, and sidewalks. Violators will be advised, cited, or softly relocated." Softly relocated? You stare. The footnote at the bottom adds, in a smaller serif font, "Sleepiness is no excuse for rebellion." You don't know whether to laugh or shiver. Across the street, a boy and his grandmother are standing in line at a small ice cream cart. Both are wearing pressed khakis and neatly buttoned blouses. The boy looks longingly at your pajama pants. The grandmother notices and quickly turns his face away with a firm hand. You wonder what would happen if you just lay down right here, closed your eyes on this perfectly good public bench. Would someone gently wake you? Would a siren go off? You don't get a chance to find out. A trio of teenagers on bicycles round the corner, none of them smiling. They're dressed like junior librarians, vests, stiff collars. One of them wears a pin that says, "Stay sharp." They glance at you, then glance away, perfectly synchronized, as if looking at someone in pajama pants might make them sleepy. You continue walking. The houses look almost identical. Modest one-stories with trimmed hedges, exact porches, and mailbox flags all tilted at the same 45 degrees. Every window has the same type of curtain, same color, same fold. You pass one porch where a woman is carefully arranging slippers on a rack, not wearing them, arranging them by height. A moment later, a man steps outside wearing what at first looks like a nightshirt. But no, it's a night-adjacent tunic, belted, collared, tucked into his pants. Officially not pajamas. He locks eyes with you, then gently closes his door, a subtle act of social exile. You want to shout, "It's just cotton," but you don't. Instead, you sit on a bench beside a faded bulletin board outside town hall. A few laminated flyers rustle in the breeze. Neighborhood Vigilance Club meets Thursdays, dress smart. No yawn yoga class, limber minds stay awake. Join the Decorum Scouts, ages 6 to 12. There's a pinned leaflet titled Emergency Sleepwear Amnesty Program, detailing how to surrender illegal loungewear in exchange for appropriate daytime fleecewear. The illustration shows someone tearfully handing over a pair of polka dot PJ bottoms to an official in a three-piece suit. You're about to stand when a voice says, "First time here?" You turn. A woman stands next to the bench, late 50s, sharp posture, hair pinned tight. She wears a stiff apron over a collared blouse. Her hands are gloved. "I saw you earlier," she says. "Walking in those," she lowers her voice, "drawstring bottoms." Brave. You explain you didn't know the law. She nods. Most don't, until it's too late. She sits beside you and slides something across the bench. A tiny square of flannel with a crescent moon stitched in one corner. You pick it up. It's soft, faintly warm, comforting. "What is this?" you ask. "Proof," she whispers. "That comfort still exists, even here." She stands. "Don't trust the signs," she adds. "They change." And she's gone. You glance back at the pajama band notice. The words flicker. For a second it reads, "You may not rest where others can see." But when you blink, it returns to the original. You're starting to understand. This isn't about pajamas. This is about visibility. What's allowed to be seen? What must be hidden? The town isn't trying to stop sleep. It's trying to isolate it. You crumple the pamphlet in your pocket and begin walking again. There's a side street you hadn't noticed before. Narrower, less polished. The lamp at its entrance is slightly dimmer. Its nameplate is blank. You turn down it. Immediately, the air feels different, less processed. The houses here are older, faded. The hedges are uneven. There's laundry hanging behind one home, actual sleepwear, flannel, silk, even a robe with clouds on it, flapping like a signal flag. You pause in the middle of the lane, and that's when the bell rings. A low, echoing chime. Not a warning, a summons. You look up. At the far end of the street, just beyond the edge of the official town grid, stands a narrow chapel-like structure with a glowing emblem above its door. Tribunal of Appropriate Sleepwear. Of course, because the only thing worse than being noticed in your pajamas is being invited to explain them. You're not exactly sure why your feet keep moving toward the glowing doorway. Maybe it's morbid curiosity. Maybe it's the faint promise of warmth. Or maybe it's just the kind of momentum you get when the rest of the town feels like it's trying to reject your presence. Whatever the reason, you cross the boundary into something that looks like a chapel, feels like a courtroom, and smells exactly like a cedar-lined sock drawer. The door creaks closed behind you on its own. Inside, Everything is symmetrical, alarmingly so. Twin rows of benches, perfectly aligned, candles in tall holders, flames flickering in near unison, and at the far end, a semicircular bench upon which sit five individuals dressed in identical burgundy robes embroidered with tiny golden buttons shaped like cuffs, collars, and zippers. Their heads are tilted slightly forward, as if they're constantly mid-nod. In the center of the floor is a square of woven carpet bordered by braided rope. A sign beside it reads, "Stand here if you value structure." A bell chimes, low, melodic. You step onto the carpet. One of the robed figures speaks, voice soft and echoing. "You have entered in violation of County Comfort Code 47B, exhibiting visible signs of bedtime attire in a public context. This hearing shall determine your level of wakeful awareness and appropriateness of garb." Another one, a shorter figure with a trembly jawline, holds up a scroll. Subject is wearing flannel, indigo, with sheep motifs. Drawstring present, pockets, 2, fit, loose. You start to protest, but the tallest among them raises a hand. "We understand," he says. "Everyone thinks pajamas are harmless." He leans forward. "But what you wear speaks of what you invite, and what you invite invites decay." You blink. "Decay?" Another elder explains. "It begins with one neighbor shuffling to the mailbox in soft pants, then another. Then someone brings slippers to the store, and suddenly, civility evaporates. You want to laugh. Again, a mistake. Instead, you ask, what if someone just wants to be comfortable? The tribunal members look at each other, mildly distressed. One finally answers, comfort is the first cousin of complacency. Then, from somewhere off to your left, a heavy door swings open, and two marshals enter pushing a wheeled rack of clothing. On it hang various examples of what they call transitional attire, items designed to simulate relaxation while maintaining a facade of readiness. There's a pressed cotton robe that buttons in the back, a pair of pants labeled lounge-adjacent slacks, a wool tunic with embroidery reading "I am awake." You're asked to choose one as part of your compliance review. You hesitate. The short tribunalist peers at you over the scroll. Refusal to engage with corrective wardrobe options may result in temporary garment nullification. You blink. "I'm sorry, garment what now?" They all speak in unison. "We remove what is unlawful." You start to say you'll take the robe when a voice calls out from the gallery behind you, a voice not previously present. "I object." Everyone turns. A man steps forward from the shadows. His appearance is strange, not rebellious, not exactly out of place, but wrong in a way you can't define. His hair is wild but trimmed. His coat looks like a bathrobe, but it's tailored like a trench. Around his neck is a long scarf printed with faint crescent moons, and the words "rest is a right." The tribunal stiffens. He steps up beside you, placing a hand gently on your shoulder. "I'll vouch for this one," he says. The tribunal gasps. You don't. You recognize him. He was on the pamphlet. Page 6. "Do not engage with the sleep right." He nods slightly to you, then addresses the elders. "Let me remind the court," he says, "that the Pajama Accord of '76 allows for personal discretion in thresholds of homewear versus streetwear, so long as the wearer maintains a minimum of verticality and verbal coherence." The room is dead silent. One of the tribunalists unfurls a scroll, scanning rapidly. Another mutters, "That clause was repealed." But the sleepright smirks. It was folded, not repealed. Section 9C, still intact, barely. But enough. You're not sure what's happening, but it seems to be working. The tribunal retreats into a whisper huddle. After a long pause, the lead figure clears his throat and says, "The subject will be placed on conditional decorum watch. They may retain their current attire until sundown, after which compliance must be absolute. You're handed a small token, round, bronze, etched with an eye half closed. It reads, 'Sundown Boundary Pass.' You're free to go, for now. Outside, the sleep-right walks with you. Pajama tribunals aren't as final as they pretend, he says. They rely on quiet compliance. People nod, adjust, fold away softness until everyone forgets they were ever allowed to be comfortable. You ask him how he got away with it. He grins. I remember a time before the bylaws, and I never stopped dressing for dreams. He presses a folded map into your hand. Meet me tonight, past curfew, at the library basement. Bring the token. Then, just like that, he disappears. Around a corner, into mist, into myth. You look at the token again. The eye on it glints, and you realize, in this town, even sunset has rules. You walk away from the tribunal chamber with the token warm in your pocket, the words conditional decorum watch echoing in your head like an especially judgmental lullaby. Around you, Slumberton has begun its late-day ritual, an uncanny transition that feels less like evening and more like a reset. The streets are emptier now. The lamps glow brighter, but their glow is rigid, orderly. There's no softness in their illumination, no invitation, just enforcement. You pass a woman sweeping her front steps with rhythmic precision. Her broom never misses a beat, never makes a mess. Her dress is stiff enough to stand on its own. Across the street, a man carefully plucks a pair of socks from a drying line using iron tongs. Not pajamas, clearly labeled. Work night hose, post-dinner edition. Everyone is trying to look awake, trying to stay on the right side of decorum. You're the only one still in flannel, and it shows. You quicken your pace, heading for what the map called the Registry Annex, an old administrative building now apparently converted into a kind of style compliance hub. The sleep-rights circled it with a note. This is where they rewrite sleep. The building is tall and faded, with columns that want to be majestic but feel guilty about it. You push open the door. Inside, it smells like starch and lavender, and something faintly metallic. No one greets you, just a wall of framed posters with approved bedtime silhouettes, tunics with cuffs, robes with no hoods, slippers without texture. Each outfit is accompanied by a small plaque, dream neutral, socially alert, morally upright. One reads simply, "Unbuttoned equals unprepared." You wander past a glass case containing confiscated sleepwear, Class B, a silk robe, bunny slippers, a ragged tank top with the words nap attack. Next to the display, a small screen flickers to life. A black and white instructional video begins to play, grainy and awkward, like an old educational reel for new citizens. A stern woman in high-waisted trousers addresses the camera. Welcome to the Registry of Sleepwear Compliance. Here, we identify, reclassify, and, where necessary, rectify sleepwear violations for the safety of our civic minds. The camera pans to a mannequin dressed in what looks like gym shorts and a tank top. This individual, the narrator continues, has fallen prey to the lure of loungewear, an insidious form of apparel lethargy. Our job is to bring them back. The screen cuts to static. You move on. At the back of the annex is a door marked Dreamwear Classification Department, authorized personnel only. You try it. It's open. Inside, rows of metal drawers, file cabinets labeled with terms like elastic waistbands, low threat, themed prints, moderate disruption, and velour, unforgivable. And at the center of the room, pinned to a corkboard, is the chart. The official sleepwear compliance matrix. You read it slowly. Garment type, acceptable hours, public display status risk rating, flannel pants 9 p.m. to 6, a.m. private only medium, full pajama sets 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. only indoors, high house robes, conditional use, porch safe with belt variable onesies, any kind, prohibited not permitted severe sleep shorts, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. yard, only supervised moderate novelty socks, permissible, hidden only, cautionary. You can't believe someone typed this. You can't believe someone defended this. You grab a printed copy of the Matrix, just in case. As you leave, you notice something else. A shred of paper, half tucked beneath a filing drawer. It looks out of place. Handmade. You pick it up. It's a flyer, scrawled across the top in deep blue ink. Wear what you feel. Sleep how you like. Below that, a stylized drawing of a fox curled in a striped pajama shirt holding a candle. And beneath that, midnight. Library basement. We remember softness. You smile. You tuck the flyer into your waistband and walk out into the night. But Slumberton isn't sleeping. It's monitoring. A soft whir rises above you. You look up. A small drone drifts silently across the sky, blinking green. It's shaped like a floating pillow, but the lens mounted on its underside is all business. You freeze. Then a voice, not loud but oddly gentle, emits from a speaker on its side. Citizen, please confirm compliance. Pajama classification, in progress. You don't move. The drone hovers, takes a slow scan, then buzzes once and glides off into the haze. You exhale. The clock tower chimes 8. Sundown is near. Your conditional decorum watch token is only good until night. You start walking. Faster now, following the map. Turning left where the laundromat used to be. Crossing under the trellis of rusted wind chimes that no longer chime. Eventually, you find it. The library. Old, brick, and half-eaten by vines. Its lights are off. It's clearly closed. But the side gate creaks open with a single push. You slip through and descend a narrow staircase that spirals underneath the main building. It feels like entering a forbidden part of your own mind. At the bottom, a plain wooden door with a faint symbol etched above it, something between a yawn and a revolution. You knock once, then twice, then once more. It opens, and inside, you see pajama pants, robes, knit socks, a candlelit circle of people, half smiling, half asleep. One of them turns and says, "Welcome. We've been waiting for you." The door closes behind you with a sound that doesn't echo, just dissolves. The library basement is warm in a way the rest of Slumberton isn't. There's no overhead lighting, just candles in ceramic holders shaped like yawning cats and moons with eyelids. The air smells like cinnamon bark and old paper. You hear quiet music playing, something soft, something stringed. A lullaby maybe, but slowed down to the pace of a heartbeat. A woman in a pink nightgown trimmed with embroidery gestures for you to sit. You notice her slippers have tiny wings stitched on the sides. Everyone here looks different. Not just because they're in sleepwear, though yes, there's flannel, fleece, silk, even velvet, but because they all seem unburdened. Their shoulders aren't clenched, their faces aren't stiff. They sit like people who remember what rest feels like. The woman leans toward you. You made it just in time. We meet every third night under a waning crescent. That's when the drones are least precise. You ask her what this place is. She smiles. It's called the Linen Circle. We're a resistance of sorts. A man in plaid pajama bottoms stands and clears his throat. He has a clipboard, not in an authoritarian way, more like a bedtime teacher taking attendance. Tonight, he says, we review the Garment Exceptions Clause, explore regional loopholes, and, of course, conduct our sleepwear stitch-in. He points to a table in the corner, where a small group of people are embroidering stars into nightshirts and patching worn socks with glowing thread. You swear the thread glimmers faintly in the candlelight. The man continues, but first, let's hear from our new guest. You feel every pair of eyes turn to you, so you speak. You tell them about the tribunal, the token, the drones, the chart with moderate threat listed under anything with a waistband that doesn't require a belt. You mention the sleep right. That gets murmurs. The woman beside you whispers, he trained some of us. Back before the dress code hardened. You ask how this law even happened. Why would anyone ban pajamas? She gestures to a tapestry hanging above the room, a hand-stitched map of Slumberton, pre-ordinance. It's lusher, softer. There are embroidered figures lounging on porches, reading books under quilts in public parks. One wears a lavender robe while feeding birds. Too much softness scared them, she says. The county supervisor said it dulled ambition, that it made people less productive. One mayor actually blamed a dip in civic attendance on thermal socks. The man at the clipboard chimes in, so they passed the dress wakefulness mandate, started with rules about belts, then about collars, then sleep-neutral fabrics only in public view, and finally, the pajama ban. He gestures to a box in the corner labeled Retired Comfort. Inside are folded nightgowns, novelty robes, a onesie shaped like a sheep. You ask what happens to people who get caught breaking the law. A hush falls over the room. The woman answers quietly, they get sent to the fold. You ask what that is. She looks away. A rehabilitation facility. They call it a restorative wakefulness retreat. We call it the unrest. Someone else adds, they play light jazz at triple speed and replace your socks with stiff wool inserts. You shiver, not from cold, from the creeping realization that none of this is exaggerated. The clipboard man looks at you. But you're here now, which means you passed the first test. You frown. Which is? He smiles, not changing. A murmur of approval circles the room. Someone hands you a mug of something warm, lavender milk, probably, and a square of fabric. Tonight, says the woman beside you, you'll help stitch a protest blanket. You glance at the fabric. It's sky blue, speckled with tiny moons. You take the offered needle. For the next hour, you sew. You stitch silence into softness. You mend forgotten corners. You embroider a small fox carrying a lantern in its mouth, remembering the flyer you found earlier. People share stories while they work. One woman describes sneaking out in a terry cloth robe to buy stamps. A man confesses he once taught a yoga class in pajama pants and didn't realize the law had changed until a drone recorded him downward dogging in prohibited fleece. You laugh. You all laugh. For the first time since arriving in Slumberton, it feels like the town isn't winning. Then the candles flicker. Not all at once. Just enough to change the air. Clipboard man sets down his list. It's time. Everyone rises. A door in the far back wall swings open to reveal a passage, brick-lined, cool, sloping slightly downward. You follow the others. At the end is another room, longer, with arched ceilings and stacks of forgotten books. In the center is a circle of chairs, and on the floor a quilt stitched from dozens of fabrics, a patchwork of resistance. This is the council room, and tonight is your induction. You're given a small pin shaped like a button and a booklet titled, "Your Rights in Rest, a Quiet Manifesto." You begin to read, and suddenly the rules of Slumberton feel reversible, or at least bendable, because what they've outlawed isn't just clothing, it's the comfort that comes with it. The next morning starts earlier than you'd like. You're woken by a polite knock at the door of your temporary lodging, a small attic room offered by one of the Linen Circle's members. The bedding is all hand-stitched, soft as clouds, and the pillow is embroidered with the phrase, "Rest is resistance." You groggily open the door to find a young girl holding a basket of laundry and a note. She doesn't speak, just hands you the note and walks away in mismatched woolen socks. The note is from the Sleep Right. They've increased patrols. They're inspecting drying lines. Meet me at the western gate before noon. Wear neutral outerwear. Bring the token. You dress in what passes for compliance: plain gray trousers, a stiff collared shirt, and a woolen vest that itches slightly. Beneath it, your pajama pants are hidden, still there. A quiet act of defiance. As you step into the morning, the town feels different. The stillness remains, but there's tension in it now, as though the air knows you've seen behind the curtain. You pass a neighbor hanging laundry, carefully pinning socks in color-coded order. Nothing with prints, no elastic visible. Every item approved by the county's laundry surveillance unit. You smile politely. She does not smile back. As you near the market square, you spot them. 3 figures in navy uniforms, each with a clipboard and a pair of binoculars. One wears a cap that says "Thread Watch." The other carries a portable scanner. They're checking clotheslines, peering over fences, and taking notes. You slip around the corner. This is the laundry surveillance unit. Locals call them the Lint Lords. They operate under County Sanitation Directive 12F, which claims that improper display of private garments promotes moral laxity, which, loosely translated, means your favorite flannel bottoms might lead to anarcho-napping. You duck into an alley. Halfway down, you spot something unusual: a shirt pinned to a wall with a knitting needle. It's striped, faded, but unmistakably sleepwear. Sewn onto its front is a phrase, "You cannot fold what was never pressed." It's a signal. The Sleep Right's breadcrumb trail. You follow. It leads you to the edge of town, the western gate. Or rather, what used to be a gate. Now, it's a low hedge with 2 stone pillars and a wooden arch that reads, "Wakefulness Beyond." The Sleep Right is already there, leaning casually against a bicycle with ribbon-wrapped handlebars. He's sipping from a chipped teacup and reading a book titled "Dreams and Other Offenses." "You made it," he says, not looking up. "Wasn't sure they'd let you out in that outfit." You show him the token. He nods. "Good. That'll get you past curfew once, maybe twice." You ask him what's next. He finishes his tea, tucks the book under one arm, and gestures down the narrow road behind him. "We've got work to do." "As you walk," he explains. The laundry surveillance unit began innocently, just neighborly reminders about not hanging underpants near shared spaces. But when the pajama ban passed, they were given real power. They patrol drying lines, catalog prints, confiscate comfort. He tosses you a folded paper, a warrant notice for hanging sleepwear in open air. The offense? A pair of cotton boxer shorts with a cartoon sun. He leads you to a shed nestled in a grove just beyond the edge of the county map. Inside, a stockpile. Flannel pajamas in every color. Robes, nightgowns, slippers, quilted tunics, all confiscated, all folded. Recovered contraband, he says. We take back what they try to erase. There's reverence in the way he handles the garments. He picks up a soft gray nightshirt with tiny stars. This belonged to someone who testified against the law. She wore it during the hearing. They fined her for excessive coziness. He hangs it carefully. You help him sort the piles. There's a system. Anything with animals goes in one bin. Anything with clouds or moons, another. The ones with words like dream big or nap queen, those go in the propaganda drawer. Then he pulls out something wrapped in linen, unfolds it slowly. Inside is a cloak, deep navy, lined with fleece, hooded. It glows faintly at the seams, like it remembers being worn in the rain. This, he says, was mine. He doesn't say more. You nod. He hands it to you. Not yet, but soon. As you pack the rest, a bell tolls faintly in the distance. Noon. He freezes. That's not the usual tone. You hear it too. A sharper note. Then the distant whir of something mechanical. You both step outside and look up. Drones. 4 of them. Not the soft pillow-like patrol models. These are sleek, angular, matte black with glowing red lenses. Inspection class. Lint lords called for backup, he mutters. They know we're sorting. You both scatter. He takes one path, you the other. You bolt through the trees, heart pounding, clutching a robe, one with ducks on it, just because it feels right. You reach a small hill and duck beneath a stone outcrop as a drone whirs overhead. It pauses, scans, then moves on. You wait, breathing through your sleeves. Once the coast is clear, you pull out your token. It's dimmer now. The eye half closed. One use left. You head back toward town. Quiet. Careful. And as you pass a fence line, you see a woman pulling bed sheets off a line. Her face is pale. The sheet is flannel. She sees you, nods, and says nothing, which, in Slumberton, is the highest compliment. By the time you return to the town center, the mood has shifted again, subtly, but definitely. It's as if the walls have become more vertical, the benches less inviting, the sidewalks harder beneath your feet. Something about the air suggests inspection, performance. Like the whole town has collectively pulled its shoulders back. You keep your head down. The robe with the ducks is hidden under your vest now, but it feels like it pulses against your skin with quiet rebellion. The kind of rebellion only softness can carry. You still have your token. Its glow is almost gone. You step into a small cafe you'd noticed before, but hadn't dared enter. The sign above it reads, "Caffeine neutral. We serve only wakeful herbs." Inside, the lighting is bright, too bright. Everything is beige. The tables are bare wood, no cushions. The chairs have sharp corners and straight backs. There's a smell, peppermint, and something you can't quite place. Sharp, industrial, sanitized. The menu offers drinks like Clarity Brew, No Dose Nectar, and Chamomile but Suspicious. You order something safe, mild alertness tonic. The barista, wearing a stiff-necked uniform labeled Wake Rep Level 2, eyes you carefully. She doesn't comment on your vest, but her gaze lingers. You take your cup and sit at a corner table. Two others are in the cafe. A man reading a newspaper titled The Daily Rouse, and a woman flipping through a pamphlet that looks suspiciously like the county dress code guide. Both glance at you from time to time. Then the bell over the door jingles. A patrol officer enters. Not a lint lord this time. One of the high-ranking ones. You recognize the uniform, gray with bronze trim, boots polished to a mirror shine. A circular badge on the chest reads, Department of Daywear Integrity. He doesn't speak. He just walks, slowly, purposefully, scanning. People straighten in their seats. He walks right up to your table. May I see your token? Your heart thuds, but you nod. Hand it over. He holds it up to the light. The bronze has dulled to copper. The eye is almost closed. He frowns. This token is nearing expiration, he says, and your attire appears layered. You force a neutral expression. I was cold, you say. A pause. He studies you, then hands the token back. You have until sundown, he says. After that, warmth is no excuse. He walks out without another word. The barista exhales loudly once he's gone. The newspaper man lowers his paper. Lucky, he mutters. You don't feel lucky. You feel like your body is being counted down. You leave the cafe and head for the eastern edge of town. The library is closed now. Curtains drawn, door locked, not even candlelight behind the stained glass. You walk past it anyway, just to feel closer to something that made sense. The streets are starting to fill, not with people relaxing, but with townsfolk out on structured evening walks. Hands clasped behind their backs, steps even and intentional, collars pressed, shoulders square. Sleep resistance, in motion. You pass a child skipping rope, twice clockwise, once back. Her clothes are regulation compliant, gray corduroys, hard-soled shoes, a shirt that says, nap is a trap. Her mother watches nearby with narrowed eyes. You try not to stare. You duck into an alley to breathe. There's a wall here, painted over dozens of times. But beneath the layers, someone's been carving with a pocket knife. You run your fingers over it. One word, soft. Another line beneath it, faint but deliberate. We remember what we wore. You turn and see a small cloth scrap nailed just above eye level, faded pink with blue stitching. The kind of thing that once belonged to a child's bedtime set. Below it, someone has scrawled, "Do not let the threads unravel." You step back out, and standing there, like she never left, is the woman from your first day. The one with the quilted shawl and silver braid. She looks at you for a long time, then says, "You've been marked." You ask what that means. She sighs. The patrol didn't warn you. They scanned you, logged you. That token's dead now. You've got no cover left. You feel suddenly, overwhelmingly visible. What do I do? She glances toward the sun, dipping now, low and gold. You don't go home. You don't go visible. You go underground. You swallow. To the library? She shakes her head. Number they'll check it tonight. You go to the sleep liner. You blink. She nods. Ask the lamplighter. And then she's gone again. Like always. You stand there in the alley, the robe under your vest feeling heavier now, not just as fabric, but as symbol. You walk back to the street, and there, right on cue, is the lamplighter. Old man, long coat, no badge. Just a pole with a hooked end. He's lighting each lantern slowly, methodically, like he's performed the same task every evening since time forgot how to keep track. You approach. He doesn't look up. You say, "I need the sleep liner." He nods. No surprise. No questions. He hands you a key. Then, in a gravelly voice, says, "Third drain pipe on Dreamer's Row. The one with the whistle mark." You take the key. You thank him. And he smiles. Just once. A smile that says, "You still remember the feeling of flannel." Dreamer's Row isn't on most maps of Slumberton anymore. Officially, the street was reabsorbed into a zoning buffer, meaning the buildings remain, but no one talks about them. They're a ghost line, tucked between acceptable memory and whispered rumor. Even the signs have faded, though you spot one nailed sideways to a telephone pole, scrawled over with correctional red paint. Still, you find it. Third drain pipe from the end, just where the lamplighter said. It's rusted, bent slightly at the bottom, and marked, not with a name or number, but with a faint chalky symbol, a half circle inside a square, the whistle mark. You kneel. Look closer. Tucked just beneath the pipe's seam is a keyhole. And not just any keyhole. It's shaped like a buttonhole. You pull out the key he gave you. It fits perfectly. You turn it. There's a low click. Then the drain pipe creaks and shifts. Not open, exactly, but loose enough to reveal a hinged hatch in the wall behind it, hidden in shadow and ivy. You glance around. No footsteps, no drones. Then you slide inside. The tunnel beyond is narrow at first, stone-lined, faintly damp, but not unpleasant. It smells like dust and old lavender, with a whisper of laundry starch, a nostalgia you didn't know you had. You move forward slowly, the dark thick but never frightening. After several turns, the tunnel widens, and there it is, the sleep liner. You stop short, breath caught. It's an underground train, half subway, half bedtime fable. The body of the train is upholstered in faded patchwork, its windows stitched with moon-shaped curtains, its roof domed and painted like a night sky. The wheels gleam softly, muffled by velvet runners beneath the tracks. This is not a public transit vehicle. It is a vessel of comfort, a rebellion on rails. You step aboard. Inside, the lighting is low. Strips of warm yellow set inside lanterns shaped like tiny teapots and curled cats. The seats are overstuffed, and no two are the same. Rocking chairs, floor cushions, old sofas, even a hammock strung between two poles. At the far end, someone is playing a kalimba. Softly, rhythmically. You sit on a cushion shaped like a biscuit and exhale for the first time in hours. Across from you, a woman in an embroidered robe sips from a mug that says, "Shh, happens." She gives you a small nod. Approval, recognition, maybe even kinship. The train lurches, so gently you almost don't notice. It begins to move. A conductor walks the aisle. You recognize him instantly. The sleeprite. But now he wears something entirely different. A long velvet coat printed with constellations, a scarf with stitched yawn marks, and a cap that reads, "Napping is not neglect." He tips the cap towards you. "Welcome aboard," he says. "This is the last safe passage past curfew." You ask where the sleepliner goes. He leans in. It goes where comfort is remembered, where regulation ends, where you can still be drowsy and free. He straightens. Tonight's route: Pillow District, Blanket Bend, Threadbare Crossing, and the Downfield Divide. You blink. "Are those real places?" He smiles. "They are now." As the train glides forward, you notice what's outside the windows. Not walls, not dirt, but dreamlike vistas, stitched skylines of half-forgotten cities, flickering quilted meadows, and drifting feather clouds that pulse with gentle light. It's not projection, it's memory. The train passes through imagined places that feel like they belong to someone else, but also to you. Each one tugs a thread inside your ribs. A boy asleep in a treehouse. A woman reading on a balcony in slippers. A dog curled up beside a space heater. The sleeprite joins you again. He holds out a folded cloth. I think you're ready. You unfold it. It's the navy cloak from the stockpile, still glowing at the seams. You wrap it around your shoulders, and it fits, not just in size, but in feeling. You ask if this train can take you out of Slumberton. He chuckles. No one leaves Slumberton. Not really, but you can travel beneath it, around it, between its seams. He leans closer. There are cracks in every system, places the ordnance forgot, hallways that don't line up. That's where we live now, between the stitches. He hands you a patch, a small embroidered square that reads, I slept freely once. I will again. You add it to the inside of your vest. The train slows. Outside the window, a narrow hallway appears, one that looks like it runs directly beneath the courthouse. He nods toward it. This is your stop. You ask why. There's a meeting tonight, he says. The county's updating the dress code compliance clause, and they're adding something new. You raise an eyebrow. He nods grimly. The bedhead rule. You blink. What? They want to ban disheveled hair before 8 a.m. under the justification that it encourages fatigue signaling. You stare. He shrugs. Sleep has always been political. You step off the train, back into the city's underbelly. But something's changed. You don't feel like a visitor anymore. You feel like a sleeper agent. You surface from the underbelly just behind the courthouse, stepping through a hidden service entrance disguised as a supply closet labeled bleach storage, authorized custodians only. The irony isn't lost on you. The room smells like lemon and order. You slip out into a side hallway and blend in with the crowd, slowly gathering for the county council's emergency session. The citizens of Slumberton file in quietly, their outfits stiff, starched, and state-approved. No scarves, no hoodies, no visible softness. It's a parade of tension disguised as civility. You take a seat near the back, next to a woman in a mock tweed jumpsuit. Her posture is perfect. Her mouth is clenched. On the wall above the chamber hangs the county seal, an eye wide open, encircled by a sash that reads, Vigilance is virtue. The meeting begins with the ceremonial bell, a dull chime that sounds like something dropped onto cold marble. A man with thin glasses and thinner lips steps forward. His nameplate reads, Counselor Nestle, Chief Warden of Visual Standards. He begins without preamble. Esteemed citizens, we are gathered tonight to discuss the growing problem of non-wakeful presentation. As you know, the pajama ban of year 17 has kept public lethargy at historically low levels. However, recent subversions of the dress code suggest dangerous comfortist sentiment. He gestures to a screen, and a slideshow begins. The first image, a blurry photo of a person in what appears to be satin drawstring pants, grocery shopping. A ripple of gasps. The second slide, a pair of fuzzy socks seen poking from beneath a stairwell. The third slide, you, grainy, shadowed, but undeniably you, in the robe with the ducks, caught just before sunset. You feel the room shift. Counselor Nestle continues. This level of defiance can only be met with escalated regulation. He taps the remote again. A new slide. A diagram of a person's head, with arrows pointing to their hair. This is the proposal for Ordinance 81K, the bedhead rule. He reads it aloud. All individuals appearing in public spaces before 8 a.m. must present heads in a condition reflecting full engagement with the day. Unkempt, tousled, or gravity-compromised hair is to be considered a visual sedative and is thus subject to fine. The crowd nods, murmuring affirmatively. Disheveled equals disloyal, someone mutters. Sleep signals undermine civic alertness, another says. You raise your hand. A few heads turn. Counselor Nestle pauses, squints at you. State your alignment and attire. You stand. Alignment, undetermined. Attire, layered. A few shocked gasps. You step into the aisle, and the robe flutters into view as your vest slips off your shoulders. You stand there in it, soft, defiant, moon-patterned. Someone shouts, "Wakewear breach." Counselor Nestle snaps, "Security." But you speak before they reach you. Do you remember what it felt like to be comfortable in public? The room stills. I'm not talking about chaos. I'm talking about safety, familiarity. You used to bring blankets to movies. You wore slippers to the mailbox. You napped on lunch breaks. We didn't fall apart. We lived. One of the guards, young, barely older than a teenager, hesitates. You keep going. This isn't about clothing. It's about control, about removing the visible signs of softness from our lives, as if rest is something shameful, as if pajamas are dangerous. A woman near the front stands. She's holding a handbag shaped like a book. She opens it slowly, pulls out something small, a sleep mask. She places it on the bench beside her, not hiding it. Another man stands, takes off his hat, revealing hair slightly rumpled. One by one, people begin to shift. Postures loosen, hands uncurl. Even the woman beside you, tweed-clad and clenched, slides off one shoe. Counselor Nestle shouts, "This is subversion," but it's too late. The change has started. The sleep-right appears in the balcony, dressed like always in his fabled coat, voice calm and steady. "Let them remember," he says. "Let them wear what they dream." Counselor Nestle tries to gavel order back into the room, but the gavel breaks in his hand, a splintered protest. The lights dim, not by sabotage, but because someone pulled the switch on purpose. The chamber floods with candlelight. Someone hums, softly, a lullaby older than the bylaws. And it spreads. The security guards lower their batons. The slideshow turns off. A woman behind you whispers, "I still have my daughter's footy pajamas in a drawer. I never threw them out." You don't need to say anything. The robe says it for you. You've become the image of resistance, of a future where sleep is no longer criminalized and flannel is no longer feared. The meeting dissolves. No vote is taken. No arrests are made. Outside, dusk has fallen. You stand on the courthouse steps, the robe fluttering around your legs, the token in your hand now nothing more than a symbol. You watch as people leave, some in regulation dress, others quietly shedding it as they walk, undoing buttons, rolling up sleeves, letting softness show. You smile, and somewhere in the sky above Slumberton, a drone blinks, then turns away. Night settles over Slumberton, not like a blanket, but like the exhale after holding intention too long. The courthouse stands quiet behind you, a building that once hummed with self-importance, now noticeably still. It seems smaller now, or maybe you've grown larger, bolder. You walk slowly down the courthouse steps, the robe trailing faintly against the stone. Around you something stirs, not the kind of movement that brings fear, but the quiet shuffle of permission being reclaimed. Across the street, a lamppost flickers and then softly glows warmer than before, as if even the town's infrastructure is uncertain now, unsure of whom it serves. You hear laughter, not loud, not manic, just real. You follow the sound toward a small park, one of those spaces you passed on your first day and thought of as empty. But it isn't. Not anymore. Blankets are being laid out on the grass. A group of teenagers pass around mugs of something steaming, their flannel sleeves rolled up just enough to show wrist tattoos shaped like pillowcases. An older couple walks hand in hand, both in matching navy robes embroidered with silver stars. One of them carries a paperback novel. The other wears socks with small embroidered sheep. You find a bench and sit. The robe wraps around your legs. You rest your hands in your lap and, for once, don't have to hide them. Someone plays a harmonica near the rose trellis, slow, bluesy, but almost sleepy. You watch as two members of the linen circle quietly post a new bulletin on the park's notice board. Comfort is not a crime. Blanket drop at dawn. Bring what warms you. You smile. A child runs past in footed pajamas. No one stops him. No one reports it. His laughter cuts the night like a soft chime. Then you see them. A group of lint lords, officers still in full uniform, approaching from the edge of the park. For a moment, everyone tenses. The music falters. Even the crickets pause. But they don't raise alarms. One of them, barely out of his 20s, removes his utility belt, drops it on the grass. Another pulls off her gloves, steps out of her boots. Beneath the trousers, striped pajama bottoms. And the last, the tallest of them all, reaches into his jacket and pulls out a knit cap shaped like a sleeping owl. The crowd doesn't cheer. That would break the spell, but something ripples through it. Relief, recognition, readiness. You're not sure who crosses the park first, you or them. But before long, you're standing in a small circle speaking in low voices. You tell them about the sleep liner, about the sleep right, about the courthouse chamber and the slideshow, and how your photo was used to stir fear. One of the former officers shakes his head. They're running out of ideas, he mutters. Fear doesn't last as long as they hoped. Another adds, we used to scan for thread count like it meant something. But the only fabric that really mattered was the kind that made people feel safe. You nod. He's right. The moon rises over the town, soft and gold, like a coin someone forgot to spend. A breeze kicks up, gentle, but just enough to set robe hems fluttering and blanket corners lifting like sails. You return to your attic room around midnight. On the door, someone has left a parcel. Inside, a pair of deep green pajama pants with tiny stitched foxes. A note attached reads, "For your next meeting." You've earned something warmer. You hold them for a moment. They smell faintly of cinnamon and library dust. You change into them. And as you sit on the edge of the bed, you remember something from childhood. The feeling of peeling off your day, putting on something soft, climbing under a blanket that didn't judge how productive you were. The simplicity of that moment. You lie down. And sleep, real sleep, finds you quickly. Not the tense kind. Not sleep under surveillance, but rest. True and full. When you wake, it's morning. But the light is different, warmer, quieter. You pull on your robe and descend the stairs. Outside, the town looks the same, but only at first glance. Someone's chalked the sidewalk with tiny pillows. A mailbox now has a sign that reads, "Soft delivery only." Even the local statue of the founder, once dressed in a sharply carved suit, is now wrapped in a crocheted scarf. The movement is no longer hidden. It's out, visible. Living. You pass a cafe window and catch your own reflection. Robe, pajama pants, bedhead. You look like someone who finally belongs. And in Slumberton, that's the most radical look of all. You spend the morning wandering, not aimlessly, but with a kind of unstructured purpose that Slumberton once outlawed. The air feels lighter, though the fog still hangs at the town's edges like a curtain waiting to be drawn. There are no sirens, no hovering drones, no barked orders about collar height or acceptable sock opacity. You walk through the square, where once only a sundial and silence stood. Now, there are small stalls forming, a blanket laid out here with slippers for trade, a wicker basket there filled with hand-knitted mittens and lightly used bedtime books. Someone sells mugs of warm milk spiced with nutmeg. Another has a sign that reads, "Tuck-ins and story sessions. Pay what you wish." Children are sprawled on cushions in the grass, listening to a woman in overalls read "Goodnight Moon" in defiant hush tones. You notice someone adding a patch to the community quilt stretched across the park gate. You walk closer. Your patch, the navy one with moon seams, has been added, right in the center. Below it, someone stitched a phrase. "The soft revolution began with you." You stare at it for a long time, not because of pride, but because of how absurdly small your initial act had seemed, slipping into the robe, carrying the duck print fleece beneath your vest. It hadn't felt like a revolution, just a choice, a need. But now you understand. In a place engineered for maximum compliance, comfort is rebellion. You head down the eastern lane, drawn toward the Department of Daywear Integrity, the very building where Counselor Nestle had declared war on Bedhead just hours before. But it's not the same now. Someone has yarn bombed the front pillars. Pink and teal stripes spiral upward. A swing has been tied to one lamppost, made from a piece of vintage mattress ticking. At the foot of the front steps, you see it. Counselor Nestle's broken gavel. Someone's placed it inside a bird cage, which is now labeled "Do Not Disturb, Ideology Napping." The front doors are ajar. You step inside. The lobby has been cleared of uniforms, signs, and stern posters. In their place, pillows, blankets, and signs painted in cursive, "Free comfort checkups." No shame, just snuggles. A small line of citizens is being fitted for custom robes. One of the volunteers hands you a clipboard. Describe your dream comfort wear in 5 words or less. You write, "Cloud-like, hooded, secret inner pocket." She nods approvingly. In the former records room, someone has hung charts showing how heart rates dropped and creativity rose in those who wore pajamas to public spaces. Another chart shows drone activity plummeting the moment residents embraced cozy attire culture. You slip out a side door and find yourself walking down Cobbler's Alley, where the old Sleeprite used to repair slippers in secret. The door to his old shop creaks open. Inside, it's quiet. Dusty, but not abandoned. You see the tools still laid out. Wooden shoe molds, embroidery threads, a tea mug with the phrase "Comply with naps" faded near the handle. A cat dozes in the corner, wearing a ribbon that says "Official Snuggle Advisor." You smile. And in that moment, you realize what comes next. The laws may have cracked, but enforcement, even in pieces, still lingers, and power has a way of recoiling unless softness stays in motion. You head back to the park as dusk settles again. Tonight, there's a gathering. The town's first official evening of repose. No fines, no patrols, just people, in whatever clothes make them feel most like themselves, telling stories under quilted bunting and lanterns shaped like stars. You take the floor when it's your turn, not because you plan to, but because someone says, tell them how it started. So you do. You tell them about the tribunal, the lint lords, the clipboard of dream types, the duck robe. You tell them how fear faded the moment you remembered how to feel warmth without shame. And then, just before sitting, you add, I wore pajamas in a county that outlawed sleep. And somehow, I woke everyone up. Silence. Then soft clapping. Then a deeper quiet, the kind that doesn't ask for anything, just sits beside you and makes space. And in that quiet, something inside you relaxes, fully. Finally. A small hand slips into yours. It's the child from earlier, the one with the fox toy. She whispers, I told the moon about you. You whisper back, what did it say? She shrugs. It said, you looked comfy. And that, in Slumberton, is now the highest praise. It's your last night in Slumberton. Not because you're being forced out, no midnight patrols, no curfew sirens, but because you feel the kind of completeness that only happens at the end of a very peculiar story. One that began in confusion and quiet fear, and ends in softness, shared. You walk through the town at twilight, watching as porch lights glow with golden warmth, not regulation fluorescence, just little bulbs behind lace curtains. People gather on stoops in robes and slippers, passing tea and humming lullabies older than laws. Even the fog feels friendlier now. You head back to the sleepliner's entrance, just to say goodbye. The hatch in the wall opens more easily this time, as if the town no longer resists such secrets. You descend into the tunnel, half expecting it to be abandoned. But the lights are still lit, and the train waits, breathing soft steam into the velvet air. You step aboard. The sleeprite is there, mending a patchwork seat with invisible thread. You leaving? He asks, without looking up. You nod. Thought so, he says. The ones who stay usually plant something first. He hands you a tiny pouch. Inside, pajama buttons, each one painted with a different tiny symbol: moon, fox, book, steam, window. You smile. Gifts? Seeds, he says. You'll know where to bury them. You ask if Slumberton will be okay. He shrugs. Maybe. If it remembers that softness isn't weakness, and that comfort doesn't mean surrender. You leave the train and walk back through the park. At the quilt gate, someone has added a new patch. Wear what brings you home. You reach your room, fold the robe gently, and lay it across the bed. You put on the green fox pajama pants again, not because they're rebellious anymore, but because they're yours. When the sun rises, the town doesn't reset. It stretches, yawns, smells like cinnamon and warm cotton. As you board the bus out of town, no one stops you. The driver wears fuzzy earmuffs. The ticket taker has visible bedhead. And everyone on board is asleep. Peacefully, legally, beautifully asleep. You find your seat, rest your head against the window, and smile. Because for the first time in a long time, dreaming won't get you fined. So now, as you lie there in your own bed, far from Slumberton, but maybe not as far as it seems, I want you to think about what it means to rest. Not just physically, but intentionally. To allow yourself to be soft in a world that often demands sharp edges. To wrap yourself in whatever makes you feel safest, calmest, truest, even if it's a pair of ridiculous pajama pants with dancing teacups on them. Let go of the day's stiffness. Breathe out the uniforms you wear for work, for politeness, for the version of yourself that must always appear ready. You are not on trial for comfort. No one is measuring your productivity in this moment. No one is logging the speed at which you fall asleep. And if anyone ever tells you that you need permission to dream, remember Slumberton. Remember the robe. Remember the pajama rebellion that unraveled a law stitched in fear. Your dreams are not infractions. Your softness is not a weakness. And rest is never a crime. So let your breath slow. Let your limbs get heavy. And drift. You've earned it. You're safe here. Sleep comes now, not as a stranger, but as a friend waiting patiently beside you. Good night, dreamer. End of script. Sweet dreams.